What's up? Good morning. Thank you for stepping into the Foul Playland. As always, I'm your Foul Player. I wanted to make this video regarding Bud Crawford and his fight against Kavaliauskas, the Mean Machine. For the sake of not butchering his name, I'm just going to call him Mean Machine for the duration of this video. Um, Bud Crawford had a hell of a time against Mean Machine in this fight. Uh, there was a time where Bud touched the ground in the fight in the second round, and they didn't score the knockdown. I thought it was definitively a knockdown, but it is what it is. Early on in the fight, Bud maybe won the first round, um, but I gave the second round, the third round, and the fourth round to Mean Machine. Mean Machine was piecing him up. Um, Bud was trying to put too much power on his shots, and I think it wasn't working for him. A lot of the what's said about Bud is that a lot when he gets hit, he tries to hit back, and I agree with that. But I think a lot of times he does that from the southpaw stance, which I think, contrary to popular belief, is his worst stance. I think he's better in the traditional stance. He's more evasive from the traditional stance. He moves a lot more in the traditional stance, especially like to his left and right. Um, it frustrates opponents more. I think when Bud ends up in the southpaw stance, when in the midst of like um, combos and whatnot, it's not bad. But I think when he tries to fight out of the southpaw stance, it's not good for him. And he tries to power up way too much. This is one of Bud's worst performances. It's not a good Bud performance in the what I've seen from him in the past, but he still was able to vanquish Mean Machine. He was still able to knock him out. When he did knock him out, he did go into the traditional stance, like to land an uppercut, which I thought was like the best shot of the fight. But I mean, Bud's still the truth. Like I mean, or Bud's still like my number one welterweight in the world. Um, and I thought that going into this fight, he just didn't look like he was himself. He was talking in interviews, and he just didn't seem like he was up to it. He had that interview with Max Kellerman on Max on Boxing, which I haven't seen yet, but reportedly he barked on Max Kellerman. He was bringing up the whole like PVC, like as it refers to him in a bad fashion. I think he's trying. He like everything of what's said of Bud as far as promotionally, like where like Bob Arum is not doing right by him. I think it resonates with him more and more as time progresses. And I think it resonated like for the promotion of this fight. It kind of like came and went. Like a lot of people didn't know about it. In spite of that, though, it was still a dope fight. I mean, like almost all of Bud Crawford's fights are really dope. Like Bud Crawford doesn't, and I could say the same about Errol Spence. I mean, Sean Porter. Sean Porter, like doesn't give you a bad outing. Like the with the exception of like the Ugas fight. Um, but it was a dope fight in spite of Bud being pieced up throughout the fight. Bud was getting hurt. I mean, he was getting hurt, but Bud's left eye was swollen towards the end of the fight. I saw that his eye was kind of like giving way, but he was still able to see it through. One thing I like about Bud as far as his resume goes, or is that Bud has been in some wars. Like Bud, he's been brought into deep waters. Like Gamboa knocked him down. Um, Mean Machine, in my eyes, knocked him down, and he's still able to come out on top of that. Like he's still able to put people away in spite of being knocked down. This fight, I mean, it sort of doesn't do anything for me as far as building his reputation, with the exception of what I just said, as far as him being brought into deep waters. But it doesn't take anything away from him either. I mean, like, Bud's fought some good competition throughout his career. I'm not gonna take that away from him. Um, well, the reasons I thought he didn't get up for this fight, I mean, it was a mandatory and it was a weak mandatory. Mean Machine, if you look at his career, like I don't know much of him. I've seen him fight. I've tried to look at some of his past fights, but he does thump. Like Mean Machine got a like hard punch. You can't say that Mean Machine doesn't punch. You know, on average, like with the welterweights, better as far as power goes. Like he's a high power puncher. Um, Mean Machine looked big. I mean, Mean Machine looked bigger than Bud in this fight. He was definitely the bigger man, especially in the top half of his body. But Mean Machine always looks pretty big in the top half of his body. But you can't say that Mean Machine wasn't getting up for this fight, man. He had to. I mean, this is like one of the better. Like this is the best performance I've seen of Mean Machine. Though my fights that I've watched of him are limited. Um, I mean, in the fight, he was pairing his jab, and I thought it wasn't working initially. Like, but then later on in the fight, Bud was doing it more effectively. Um, One thing that Bud was doing in the southpaw stance is doing lead right hands. I mean, or lead, yeah, lead. Um, he was doing lead lefts from when he was getting out of the southpaw stance and ending up in the right hand in a traditional stance. He was doing lead rights, and and early on it wasn't working. Early on he would try it and get tagged up, and he was doing the same thing from the southpaw stance, but he was doing lead lefts and getting tagged up. It's my cat, but he still was able to put Mean Machine away. I'm not gonna take anything from him. Um, do I think that he's still the best in the division? I'm not gonna. I'm waiting to throw something at my cat. Do I still think he's the best in the division? Yeah, I do. Um, do I want to see the fight being made between he and Errol Spence? Yeah, I mean, post fight, he didn't bring his name up, but he did do more of an indication that he did want to fight with the other welters in the division. Um, I don't know. Like I mean, I just sometimes worry that the fight is gonna be negotiated or is gonna be stopped due to negotiation. Like when if Errol's career gets too big, and I say Errol's career because I think he has more of a potential based on the opponents that are available to him. That his career blows up as far as his resume goes, and then when it comes to negotiating a Bud Crawford fight, that the it would be too much of a gap in negotiation for them to agree to anything. Um, Somebody, my man 504, like in a conversation we were having on his channel, and please subscribe to him, said that right now that fight is 60-40, like as far as negotiation goes. And I hate talking about these things. And it was me who presented the question to him. But if Errol Spence fights like a Manny Pacquiao, what would the split be then? Like, and would Bud Crawford agree to it? I don't think Bud Crawford even now would probably agree to a 60-40 split. And I think he was right in saying that I think it's a 60-40 based on like what they've done. I mean, I just want to see the fight happen. And frankly, I've said this in the past that I don't think that this fight is ever going to happen. Like and that's unfortunate. I mean, you know, when it comes down the line, they're both going to regret um not making the fight if it doesn't happen. Do I think Bud's doing the best that he could do to make that fight happen? Absolutely not. He should be calling out people a lot more, not just Errol Spence too, but he doesn't. I mean, and it shouldn't be Bomac's job to do it twice a year or Bob Arum to do it before a fight twice a year. Nah, it should be on Bud to get out of character if he's an introvert and doesn't talk much and try to call some of these people out. Do I think Errol Spence is doing his best to make this fight happen? Absolutely not. I think they're both not trying to see each other like maybe right now, and I also don't think that neither one of them is pushing towards this fight. But and that's unfortunate. I mean, if we lose out in this fight, like I mean, if I'm an Errol Spence fan, which I like both the guys, like, but I'm not gonna take any like sort of solace when they both retire if they don't fight and say, oh well, like Bud's resume wasn't this or that. We should, as fight fans, just push for the fight. Period. And I want to see it happen. But shout out to Bud Crawford for winning last night, and let's see what 2020 brings us and him. Have a good day, and I'm gonna make another video here in a couple minutes.